right up in the crotch, man.
Hello, and welcome to Big Screen Heroes. I'm Mark. Well, the fact that there's a visual today kind of suggests this is a different format than what, well, we usually do. And you might have noticed, if you're watching this day one of release, that we didn't have an episode last Friday. Well, at least one that was released on the site. We did record one, and literally we recorded it all. The second we went to play it back, we realised that halfway through the actual audio of the review, the audio kind of broke, and that was last Wednesday, possibly. Yes, last Wednesday. This is currently the following Tuesday, and due to schedules, I've just not had a chance to even look at possibly getting any form of it fixed. That doesn't mean it's not salvageable. It's just this could take a while, which is a shame because I thought it was one of our better episodes. So in the meantime, we still plan to have our episode out this week for the upcoming Friday. This is literally just a video to tie our fans over. You know, we don't have many fans. This is just for us. So in case we have gained. Unfortunately, this might happen a lot because it's just me talking to myself. If you saw the Voltron episode, I might have done this a lot more than that. Didn't really listen back to that one because I was in it, and I know what the stupid things I said was. Like that didn't sound good English. I must apologise. This is currently my setup, which has been the setup we've used for the last two episodes, that being Voltron and the Daredevil episode that is now missing. So we have a missing episode that hopefully might be found one day, or we might have to re-record it. Hopefully not though. But I thought, well, we do have a new schedule now that we've all lined up from literally from now till next year, the end of 2018. There will be a couple of weeks where we might end up missing it due to schedules. Well, if it's a big, like a tie-in episode, or one that we have to review, we'll find a way. If it comes to re-recording it, we'll do that. But if it's a week like I did want the Daredevil one to tie into the Defenders. It wasn't originally on the first draft of the schedule, so we're not too fussed about it not making the release date. But we do want to have an episode out weekly. Well, we've missed last week's, that doesn't mean we can't have two this week to kind of even out. So, well, we won't have the Daredevil one for at least a while. That could be a bonus episode much later down the line. We do plan to have our review commentary for the Incredible Hulk by Friday, hopefully. We still actually need to meet up to record that. So this is a little series I'm thinking of doing, just in case we miss a week. So it's something I could do quite quickly, release it out to you so we have a video. So this is part 1 of Mark's MCU review, where I'm just going to go through the different parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and give my quick thoughts and opinions on it. So you'll kind of get that, because we will, if we keep to the schedule, by the end of this year we will have all of Phase 1. So from Iron Man 1 to the first Avengers film, we'll all have a commentary track for it. This is just a little, very brief sneak preview, I guess. I don't know, it's a work in progress. It's kind of like, well, we're going to start off with some of the older ones. As the series progresses, we'll be able to talk about some of the newer films as they're coming out. Like, obviously, this is just focused on the MCU. That doesn't mean we can't open up to other films and other franchises. To do like a little mini retrospective as a whole. For this part 1 of Marc's MCU review, we're just going to focus on the Phase 1 products. So that is Iron Man 1, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, The Consultant, Captain America the First Avenger, a funny thing that happened on the way to Thor's hammer, The Avengers, and Item 47. That's all the Phase 1 movies, and then 3 of the Marvel one-shots that were connected to the Blu-rays of those movies. Might do Phase 2 later down the line, but I'm not sure whether to include TV shows in that, or give them their own separate episodes. Maybe it's even where it would be better if I did the one-shots as their own episode, but it gives me a little bit more to talk about with this one, just to fill out a bit more time. I'm not going to go on too long about it because I do tend to ramble a lot. Yeah, and I can get lost on quite a few tangents, which has probably already happened already. If you may look where I've got the camera here, I am looking down a lot because my monitor is literally right below it. So I'm trying to make sure I'm staying in frame with, like, I've got the logo right here, so I'm not like here the entire episode. Not going off any script, this is just thoughts and opinions. Very brief, hopefully a paragraph or 2 at best, and a little score out of 10. I'll give everything. So, to start, Iron Man 1. We already have a commentary track up for this one, so if you've listened to that one, you kind of get the gist of what my thoughts on it, and like where I thoughts on it originally and my thoughts on it now. But as a quick recap, when it came out in 2008, saw it day 1, was hooked. I knew they were trying to do something where they'd connect all the heroes, and it would start with Iron Man. Like, the Spider-Man wasn't connected to this, the Fantastic Four films weren't connected to this, the old Hulk film, Daredevil, wasn't connected. You know, I knew that they were starting afresh with this one, but it was, I don't know what it was. I remember liking a lot of superhero films at the time, but I wasn't as invested as I am now. Obviously, the style of the films completely changed in this day and age, for the most part at least. Like, obviously, it's nowadays you have to have a universe, you can't just have a standalone film, or at least if it's going to be a standalone film, it's got to at least have a trilogy connected to it. It's no longer about the individual films, it's now about the franchises, which technically it already was, but now it's the franchise first, and not a possible second, if you get what I mean. It really looks like I've got a black eye on the side of my face. So yeah, I loved it at the time. It was my favourite comic book movie I'd seen, but at that day and age, I was much younger. I would have been about 16 at the time, so not old enough that I should have known better with tastes, like in films. But a year later, I would class Transformers 2 as one of my favourite films. Thankfully, that only lasted for that year. and by that point I'd actually did film study school, learned what actually makes a film and not just a product. And technically you could still count these films as products, but there's a different level between making it because it's known and making it because you actually care about it. And you could tell that the people behind this movie cared about their franchise and that wanted to succeed. You get risky casting all the time, but I think the kind of proof that they wanted this to be a good product is the risky casting of the time of Robert Downey Jr. I think no one would have said he couldn't have acted, but obviously with his past at the time, well, technically it's always going to be his past, but it's at the time more recent past. It's not the ideal person you'd want in your main superhero role, like as your role model for children, but because Robert Downey Jr.'s redemption story is very similar to Iron Man's origin story, it really did fit. And it's going to be so difficult for them to find someone who can capture that character. Not just act good, and like, I'm pretty sure there's a billion actors out there, big name ones, that could both look and act like Robert Downey Jr., but there's only going to be a few that's going to be able to do that and also capture the essence of this character, despite the fact that there are a lot of changes from the comic book version. It makes the character so grounded in reality, which originally they were meant to be at the time. Obviously we've got crazier elements have entered the fray since. Obviously we'll get to Thor in a bit, we've seen Aliens and Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. This time this was the most... Okay, I'd say, no, it's not the most, because we did have Dark Knight that same year and Batman Begins a few years prior. But this was like a really grounded, down-to-earth superhero film that, while it was all fantasy, it didn't kind of make you think, if we had the money, we could make this kind of suit and we could be this character. Obviously you can't, but the way they present it makes it believable. But it was great at the time. It's still fine now. I think it's more, I've watched this far too many times. I'd say at least between 15 and 20 times I've seen this movie. So the effect has lessened a bit. I still find it a great film, but I think just time and the amount of times I've seen it and what has come since has really lessened the impact of this movie, despite the fact this is such an iconic movie now. This is the one that started this whole new era of cinema, where with these whole new cinematic universes, this was the first. No, it was the one that started this whole trend, at least. Yeah, let's see, what did I even get my list up? Yeah, so for this movie, I class this one out of 10. Currently, I'd give this a 7 out of 10. But just no films or TV shows I'm gonna list ever reach 10. I think there's only ever, in my personal opinion, 10 is complete perfection. Don't know why I said that way, complete perfection even. And I'm very, when it comes to like nitpicking, I think I've only ever given one film a perfect 10, and if I really had to think about it, it might even be like a 9.99999, because I don't think there's like one tiny element missing from making it that perfect 10. So that's, I kind of removed the 10 from the option. So for me, the 9 is the best result any of these films can get, and the 1's the worst. I could put a 0 in there, but there's no point, because as it would imply that no effort was even made at all, and obviously for it to be physically visible to you a movie or TV show has to have at least some effort to put into it. Gonna have to do a quick pause here, and cut. What I needed to say on Iron Man. Yes, say give it a 7 out of 10. Did the whole the 9's the best that I gave, 1's the worst. So yeah, I think this film, it still holds up really well. It's just my personal taste on what's I've overdone this film myself, which it would have been a lot higher. It's more the damage. It's not the film's fault, it's my fault for watching it so many times. That's why it would get a much lower score than what other people might give it compared to other films that are going to be on this list. Moving on to the next film, Incredible Hulk. Hopefully, if things work out, we will have our commentary out by the end of this week even. So hopefully, unless you watch this day one or like the second day, it won't be up yet. But if you watch this later down the line, hopefully our commentary will be up, so you get a bit more of a broader understanding of where we stand with this film. For me, I actually really enjoy this film. It's one of those films which every time I've watched it, from beginning to end, I immediately want to replay it again. Like, I just really enjoy this movie. It's not perfect. It's not even anywhere close to being in the top 10 of the Marvel films. But there's something about it that's like really, it's got that. I don't know how to describe it. It's got that fun element, despite the fact it's quite dour and there's not a lot going on in it. But I think it's maybe a bit of the pacing and the way where it kind of ramps up towards the end. You're really hyped and you want to see more. So that's what makes me kind of want to rewatch it again. Once again, saw this movie day one. I think from this point on, once I realised, oh yeah, I knew this one was going to be connected to Iron Man. To just do a quick pause to go back to Iron Man 1. Unfortunately, despite the fact that I'd heard rumours that Nick Fury was going to be in the movie played by Samuel Jackson, I was unaware of the end credit sequence. I assume like most people weren't at the time because it wasn't that too much common practice to do. Obviously some movies did it, like the Pirates of the Caribbeans all did them. And I guess, off the top of my head, I don't know any of us. Ferris Bueller. That's only because of Deadpool, I remember that one. It has one. So yeah, we went day one. Waited the end. Obviously, there wasn't an end credit scene with this one because they hadn't established that was the thing that they're going to do yet. Or if they had, they realised not a lot of people saw the Nick Fury one, so we'll move that end credit scene to be like the very last scene of the film or something like that. And in fact, when we walked out of this film, in my head, I just went, I'm seeing these day one. Every single one I'm going to see release date. And so far, yep, that was 2008, 2017 now, and I'm still seeing every single one of these movies. Every single one of the movies, every single one of the Netflix shows, I've watched within the first 24 hours of their release. And with the Netflix shows, it's been the entire show I've watched within the first 24 hours, which has been a killer. So, thank God Defenders was only 8 episodes. Otherwise that might have killed me again. I'd already done it with 5 other seasons. One more could have been a killer. And Punisher's doing it again. They're doing 13. Oh well. Cross that bridge when I get to it. But yeah, walking out of this film, this was the one that made me realise that this is going to be the franchise that this was to be my Star Wars. Despite the fact I love Star Wars, I don't have that sentimentality to it that like other Star Wars fans have. For me, it's just a franchise that I can watch over and over and over again. For me, this is the one that like the MCU is the franchise I kind of obsess over, that I need to see every single piece and elements that they add to it. And despite the fact, obviously, you sort of began with Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk was the one that made me decide, yes, this is going to be my franchise. Loved it when it came out. I've noticed pretty much every flaw that everyone has with it, which makes it one of everyone's least favourite movies. Technically, I believe it's probably the most pointless one at this point. You don't really need to see this, unless they bring back some characters later on, like Betty Ross or the Abomination or the leader. But obviously, Universal aren't going to make another one. No, never say never, I guess, but at this point they're not going to make one anytime soon, at least. And obviously it's a different actor playing the Hulk now, which at first I was really disappointed in that they changed, because I didn't know who Mark Ruffalo was. I knew who Ed Norton was at the time, but not Mark Ruffalo. And they hurt me when they recast. But after watching the Avengers films over and over again, and this one over and over again, they made the better choice to go with Mark Ruffalo for the Hulk. I don't really know what to say about this one, actually, to give like a better sort of mini review on it. It's a flawed movie, it's pointless overall, but it's really fun, for me at least. I know a lot of people don't really like it, but I honestly don't know what it is that makes me really want to go back to this film every time I watch it. Yeah, I don't think there's too much I can actually add to this. Hopefully that doesn't mean that the commentary is going to be like 2 hours of silence. Well, this was good, wasn't it? Maybe. So yeah, as the review, there's out of 10, I give this one a 6. I still enjoy it the same as I did when it came out. I just noticed more flaws, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy it as much. I've just been a bit more nitpicky. Hey, Iron Man 2. This one I really liked when it came out. I think I enjoyed it a lot more than the first one. I think if not, I was very dependent on the day of the week kind of thing, which one was I classed as being better, because they were that close in my opinion originally. Rewatching this movie has really damaged it in my opinion. Plus, just when you're seeing it day one, it's all your own opinion. No one else has influenced you yet. And obviously as time goes on, you hear other people's opinions, and that makes you realise other things, or it can completely change your opinion overall of a film. But I think that kind of happened with me with this film. It's kind of the backlash this film got did make me open my eyes a bit to like its flaws. I haven't seen this film in a really long time, actually, maybe 5 years at this point. This is probably the film I've seen the least out of Phase 1. I've seen it maybe, I think, 5 times I might have seen this film since it came out in 2010. And yeah, it was too much. I get what they were trying to do, where they were trying to make it more obvious that it was connected to other franchises, and these franchises were going to quickly, the ball was quickly going to start rolling, because so far we'd only had a previous Iron Man film and an Incredible Hulk film that not many people saw by comparison. So they really wanted to make people know that all the heroes are coming, and that there will be sequels, but not to this film, but not featuring Iron Man necessarily. That they would branch out to, I guess, spin off in a sense. to other franchises, but it was too much too quick. There was no progression. You had a few little tiny Easter eggs in the first Iron Man, maybe even less Incredible Hulk, and then it was just as many frames as they could. They try to hide something in the background, and it's really it doesn't make for a good film when your plot is to really just set up for this next film in the franchise. Obviously, this franchise survived it, and obviously continued on into the Avengers series as a whole. But obviously, you get like the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which tries to do the exact same thing and completely failed. And yeah, I don't know what to really say about this one. Once again, I can't even say that multiple viewings has really ruined this one for me. I guess it has in a sense, but this one's more influenced by other people's opinions, and just more of an eye-opener that I got with this film. That's thankfully they learned pretty quick where they went wrong, so there's not too many films like this left in the franchise that focus too much on setting up the next one. Despite the fact, obviously, they all try to set up the next film down the line. It's not really the focus, and it's not too much of a distraction in other films. But for this film, from last I remember seeing, I'd give this one a 5. It might even be a lot lower now, but yeah, I'd give this one a 5 myself. Much to really say about this one. Moving on next is Thor. Now, Thor's an interesting one because technically I didn't see this one day one of release. I actually saw this before day one of release because it was a cinema not too far from mine, not the usual one I'd go to, but they actually had early screenings of Thor. I think technically it was meant to be for press, I think, because I know I got dragged along to a press screening for Zoolander 2 at the same cinema. Not knowing it was meant to be a press screening, I just bought the tickets, and obviously they hadn't. It was like me, my sister, and I'd have to maybe stretch 6 other people in the entire cinema room watching that film. So I guess they just opened those tickets up to the public. But we got pretty much the exact same style of screening for Thor, which was interesting because I haven't seen any of the other films do this. I try to keep my eye open, but usually I've booked my ticket in advance once I know what the main release date is, because you do get an out. Well, it's cool to see it beforehand. I do still enjoy going to a cinema and watching it with an audience, hearing them laugh, along with the jokes, because it does make them actually funnier, which we'll get to maybe not with this one, but in this video necessarily. There, get my words out finally. But more with some of the Phase 2 films. We'll get more into how a cinema can actually help the films. But with Thor, I knew going in that this was one of Marvel's big risks. I'm not sure. I can't actually remember what my original opinion of this film was. I think I was on the fence, 50-50, because I knew it was a risk. I knew the limits, why certain decisions were made, to mainly focus it on Earth, take away his Thor powers, have more, the same with Iron Man 2, focus more on the trying to tie in more elements to the MCU as a whole. But yet, I'm still really torn on this film. The humour's not great. The action scenes are quite poor. But I understand why it's like that. because of I still like this movie. Like, if it's on, like it was on over Christmas, I believe, at the end, like 2016. If not Christmas, New Year's, it was like one of the big holiday seasons at the end of the year. And it was true to honest, like I hadn't seen this film in for probably about another 5 years since again. Rewatched it, and it was still enjoyable to watch. But besides from like introducing who Thor is, and I don't know, you don't really get that in this film. The only thing you really get out of this film is Loki, and even then, it's a pale shadow compared to what we'll get down the line with that character. To me, I see this as like a pilot, like a pilot episode that usually doesn't go to air for a TV show, where the characters aren't quite acting as they usually would when the main series actually kicks off. I see it as more as a first draft. Yeah, sorry, no, not first draft. I'll go back to more the pilot. It's a pilot that normally wouldn't be aired because they'd reshoot the pilots with more. It would be more connected. It'd be more representative of what the actual show was going to be like, but they actually put it out, and then realised it didn't work as well with certain character motivations. And I don't know where I'm going with this tangent. I really don't. I mean, I know where I'm going. I just don't know how to tie it all up. Yeah, I think this is probably, out of the actual films, this is the weakest Phase 1 has, in my opinion. Saying that though, once again, I haven't seen Iron Man 2 in a while. I might swap the numbers around if I'd rewatched Iron Man 2. So this one gets a 4 out of 10. 4 for Thor. It's fine. It's just we get so much better later on. Next, instead of talking about the Captain America First Avenger, I'm going to talk about the first Marvel one-shot, which was on the Thor Blu-ray, titled The Consultant. The Consultant is the one where it's Agent Sitwell and Agent Coulson sitting in a diner discussing they're discussing getting the Abomination into the Avengers Initiative. And then obviously Coulson's like, you're kidding, right? He's a villain. But it's like, oh, General Ross, the US Army wants him in because he's a soldier. This one's a nothing thing. It's a nice little tie-over to kind of prove that Incredible Hulk is connected to the MCU, despite the cameo from Iron Man at the end, because that's really all that film had at that time. But it's not. It's just a scene in a cafe. It's not that interesting, and all it really does is explain why Iron Man shows up at the end, and that's it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice that they actually acknowledge that, but there's nothing to it. There could have been a prequel comic that did the exact same thing. You could have included it in the Fury's Big Week comic, which I'm not going to include in this review, but might do an episode on, like, maybe down the line if this kind of does well in a sense. But yeah, this one gets a 1 out of 10 for me. It's nothing. It's nothing that we couldn't have put together on our own. It's just to let other people know that Incredible Hulk is included, like, in this series, which most of us already knew it was. So moving on from that one, because there really is nothing to talk about with The Consultant, is Captain America: The First Avenger. Once again, saw this one day one, as the same as all the others. This was my favourite comic book movie of all time in 2011. I was kind of worried how they'd handle this character, because at the time he was the most boring character you could probably think of. And it wasn't this, it was Avengers that actually made me realise this, but since then Captain America is now my favourite superhero. And I love going back to rewatch this movie because it does make me think of this film opened my eyes to the possibility, not the possibility, the potential that this character has. Just because you're dressed as your flag and you stand for freedom and what we'd all consider to be boring, because he's not brooding and he's not beating up criminals in an alley and he's not killing them, and he's generally a nice guy. Heaven forbid a hero be nice, you know. Oh great, my sore throat's kicking back up again. It was such a refresher at the time, and I did go through a bit of a phase where this was one of my least favourite movies, only on the concept of there's like 2 or 3 flashbacks that kind of brush over most of the film, and yeah, that is annoying, but for obvious reasons they had to tell the entire of Captain America's World War II adventures in one film. And unfortunately that is an era that does span at least 3 years, I think it's 1942 Captain America gets his powers. I don't know, off the top of my head I don't know what the timeline is for Captain America in those movies. Yeah, so it's still one of those films I really enjoy watching now. Once again, we've had so much better come since, but to me, it's very close to like an Indiana Jones kind of film. It's not art, but it's so enjoyable to watch that you can forget everything. It's like a really guilty pleasure, but without any of the guilt, because it's, well, I do understand why people don't like this film. I've heard a lot of complaints about it, like people who actually just think it's awful. I understand where they're coming from. It just doesn't affect, the issues that they have with the film just really don't affect me. But it's not perfect. It is rushed, but it's still decent. So I give this one a 6 out of 10. We'll touch on it a bit more when the commentary comes out. I think that one is scheduled for around December. Oh yeah, Iron Man 2 is probably around September. Thor will be out just before the week before Thor Ragnarok. Going on to like what the schedule of these movies will be for our commentaries. Yeah, this one will be around December. Either before, I think it's like the week before our Star Wars review will come out. Like just in time for like episode 8. Excuse me. So oh yeah, we'll touch upon it more later, but me and Charles actually do have a sort of story. Like, it's the lamest story ever. Actually, I can just tell you now. We actually saw them filming Captain America: The First Avenger in our hometown of Liverpool. I said we saw it filming. We literally were walking past the docks where they were filming, and you could see actually all the big like storage equipment that they used to keep all like the props and the cameras and everything. It was all stacked up by the docks, despite the fact that it was technically about a mile away from where they actually did film. It was interesting to see, to just be walking past like the same, we're doing the same walk we've done 1,000 times before and 1,000 times since, and this one occasion we were walking past school, it was walking through a film set, to a film that we were going to see a few months down the line. And we didn't see any actors. I don't think even thinking off the top of my head, I don't think we saw any crew. But it is just the case of you could see film equipment, knowing what it was, and it's sort of make me think, and just, well, obviously not being involved in it, being a part of it. No, wait, reverse those. Well, not being a part of it, being sort of involved. I think that works better. Hopefully. So yeah. Give that one a 6 out of 10. Moving on to the next Marvel one shot, which is a funny thing that this will take me forever to say. Yes, this one might take me a bit of a while to say. A funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. Once again, it's mostly a nothing thing, but it is, for what it is, for like a 5-minute short film, just to like give one of their side characters a bit more to do and kind of like get a better grip on who this character actually is. It's actually quite fun. Like at that point, Coulson had just stood there. He'd obviously been the introduction to S.H.I.E.L.D. in Iron Man 1. He was like sort of Nick Fury's second-hand man in Iron Man 2, and then he just disappears. He shows up in Thor, obviously that's where he disappeared to. And he sort of plays like the villain role, but obviously just due to misunderstanding. And then he dies spoiler alert, he dies in Avengers. So obviously he uses a weapon in the Avengers, which is a cool scene, like his final death scene. I think the way he gets back at Loki is awesome. But before that, he was some guy who stood there. So this was like a cool scene to have, where it's like he shows. It's like he's like in his 40s going on 50s. If I guessed, I don't know. I'm awful of ages. Cool to see that one of the older agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. can actually still hold his own. Well, it's not the best action scene. It literally is. He jumps up in the air and punches the guy and throws a bag of flour at the other guy and they're knocked out. It was still quite fun to watch. And there's pretty much not much you can really talk about that. It's just it is fun, and it was kind of the opening the door to what Coulson could have potential for, which obviously we get later when he's revived in Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is kind of like going back to the pilots kind of angle of it. This is like a pilot for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's why we'll touch on that again in a bit. So for that, this gets a kind of the one shots kind of get their own different scale of how the rankings work. But these shouldn't be compared to the same ranks that I give the films. This is just more for what, out of 10, this is more for what they are, which is short little mini films that overall don't add too much, but they're just something fun and something extra. So for this I give it a 5. That doesn't mean I'd say it's on par with Iron Man 2 or that it's better than Thor. It's just for what it is. It's perfectly fine. So nice little quick fun that if you own the Thor Blu-ray, it's something extra to watch at the end. Oh no, sorry, no. This is the Captain America Blu-ray this is on. It's something, after you finish watching the film, you just watch that and it's like, that also happened in this universe. But if I was to give it anything lower, because it's technically not as good as the films, it would be a disservice to how fun this little silly film actually is. So we're getting really close to the end of this video now. So we're going to quick talk about the Avengers. off the top, it gets a 9 out of 10 for me. This is still one of those films, I've seen it about 1,000 times. No, okay. I'd be shocked if it's... I don't know. I'll lose count at some point. I'd honestly be shocked if this is under 15. I could believe it being under 20 times I've seen it, but I believe it to be maybe even over 20. I'd be shocked if it's under 15 times I've watched this film. Yeah, I'd say anywhere between 25 to 15 times, somewhere in that gap. And I've not been bored. It's, while I said I've seen Iron Man maybe around about the same amount of times, it's kind of lessened. This film hasn't, which is quite impressive. That I could watch it now and have the same emotional response. Well, maybe a tenth of a degree off of what I had in the cinema, but pretty much the same awe-inspiring look on my face of, this is happening. It's the Avengers. Oh my god. That I had pretty much every other time I've seen this film, and that I'll have hopefully every time since. I loved it. It was the whole build up for this film, the hype going in, like watching every single piece of this puzzle come together, doing the backstory, looking up on like all the trailers, all like the set release photos and all that kind of stuff, putting everything together for this big jigsaw to see phase 1 all come together. Like the big last piece gets put in right at the top. To me, I can imagine the hype that I had for this was what people had for the prequel trilogy for Star Wars back in 98, 99. But whereas we know the end of that story, Avengers didn't have that disappointing element. Sorry guys, I can't get all my words out at times. I do apologise. Yeah, to me this is just one of those films. It's not perfect at all. Like, don't get me wrong. Just because I give it a 9 doesn't mean I don't see any flaws. It just has that entertainment factor that makes you forget everything about it. Obviously there are some elements that it's like, that doesn't make sense. To a more skeptical mind, or a more... Yeah, I'll just go skeptical. I don't know where I was going with that tangent. Yeah, to a more skeptical, they can notice it and it could possibly ruin a film, or ruin at least one of the scenes in the film. For me, every scene is perfectly laid out, and every scene is needed. Every character is portrayed the way they should. Obviously, Hawkeye isn't, but at that point, that was the best we got. The only other scene we'd had was his scene in Thor, which was nothing. So, yeah, this was our introduction to Hawkeye. So technically, they couldn't do it wrong, in a sense, because there was nothing to really base it off of within the films themselves, at least. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it. I think it's the third highest. When it came out, it was the third highest grossing film of all time. I don't even know where it would be now. I think it's fifth. Now. But the fact that it got to that high point, I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it and knows where I'm at least somewhat coming from with this. I can't really give this one words to describe in a review. This is just the combination of, at that point, what was supposed to have been 4 years of films all coming together and paying off. Like, it was a very big gamble. The fact that it paid off was amazing. and I hope they can do it with next year's Infinity War for like, the 10-year anniversary. And seeing how far we've come since this film. So yeah, I don't think I can really add too much, because obviously when the actual review commentary episode comes out, we'll talk about it more there. This one we're trying to release the final week of 2017. This will be like our New Year's episode in a sense. But let's see to cap it off, we go from super high to unfortunately super low. Last thing we're going to talk about with this episode is the Marvel one-shot Item 47. For those of you who don't know what it is, Item 47 is the short film where Agent Sitwell kind of takes on Coulson's role after his passing in the Avengers to track down two criminals who've gained Chitauri weapons and have actually been able to activate them. And they're using it to rob banks. This technically is the pilot for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can see clearly what they were trying to do. And like, kind of get a taste of like, oh no, actual people enter S.H.I.E.L.D. How are they going to go about their daily lives working in this crazy situation? And I'm kind of, well, we'll get more into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. another day. Really kind of glad they didn't go with that route, at least originally. Because that would have done even more damage than what the show actually did to itself. This is really pointless. I think this is probably the most pointless out of all the one-shots. The Consultant explains the end of the Incredible Hulk and makes that actual canon. A funny thing that happens on the way to Thor's hammer at least adds elements of Coulson's character. This adds nothing, except the fact that people come back to Chitauri weapons. Hooray, we get that later on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with pretty much the exact same reaction of, oh my god, these normal people can use these weapons. Agent Carter's was the pilot for her show, and All Hail the King at least tried to redeem it tried to undo damage that the films had made. This one has no reason, I don't think any real reason to exist. And while technically a lot of effort was put into this one, it's the longest one. From what I recall, the effects of like them firing the weapon still look pretty cool. I mean, it looks like it did in the film when the aliens fired it. But yeah, those characters aren't seen again. Sitwell's barely brought up after Coulson comes back. And overall, we see more of what S.H.I.E.L.D. actually does do when they actually get their own show, which was the following year. So for that, for Item 47, I give that a 2 out of 10. There was more effort put into it than the Consultant, but it was technically less important overall. I think, despite the fact it's more entertaining to watch, but even then, I'm kind of bored by it. So yeah, I don't think there's actually really too much I can talk about now. Actually, see if I can do some quick math. And by that, I mean I'll let my phone do some quick math. Yeah, I might do at the end of this, kind of, when I add up all the totals I give these films and see like what that brings the average to overall for each phase. So I can we can compare it to when the phase 2 episode comes out. We can compare it to like maybe, well, that might have some better films in it. Some of the lower films actually lower the actual total. So let's see. So I'm at a 7. Hulk at a 6. Iron Man 2 had a 5, Thor had 4, David Solson had 1, Cap had 6, Thor's Hammer had 5, Avengers had 9, and Item 47 had 2. Re-enter. So yeah, so overall, Phase 1 gets a 5 out of 10 as a whole. Which is kind of, I would have thought that would have been better, but that is more just a lot of the films were them finding their feet, making mistakes that they would pick up and improve on later on down the line. So it's, you know, to still be halfway decent out of 9 properties right off the bat, still pretty good. So hoping that would be a high number to be like a big happier ending. But yeah, so this is, don't know really too much more to say now. Once again, do apologise for missing last week's. Hopefully we will be able to release the Daredevil episode as a bonus episode. This Friday will be Incredible Hulk, where we'll establish more on not just my opinions but Charles's opinions on the film, more in greater detail. And yeah, follow us on Twitter at Big Screen Heroes. We've now got a Facebook page which we've talked about previously. Give us a like and subscribe. Stay tuned. Obviously, we've just told you that by the end of the year we'll have at least all the Phase 1 films coming out, and we've got plenty more big movies to do by the end of this year, and let alone next year. And yeah, this is Marc, Big Screen Heroes, signing off.